everybody! So here I am in my kitchen and I've got a really special guest, Elissa Goodman, and we are going to be talking today about how to cure Hashimoto's, autoimmune, thyroid disorders. This is really great stuff that you are not going to want to miss. Okay, so I am here with my new bestie, Alyssa. We've been kind of following each other for a while now, and then Alyssa reached out to me. We had lunch. Alyssa is a holistic nutritionist and a cleansing expert, and she really is extraordinary. And so we've become fast friends. And why I really wanted to introduce you to Alyssa is you, my darling, have not only cured yourself of Hashimoto's, autoimmune, and thus knows so much about this topic, but also you are a cancer survivor. So we've got a lot to talk about. So we're going to just talk a little bit about, Alyssa's going to share her story with you, and then we're going to do some myth busting about autoimmune diseases, and then you're not going to want to miss this. We're going to show you the exact foods that you need to eat if you have autoimmune, Hashimoto's, thyroid disorders, and finally, you're not going to want to miss a surprise food that arguably is one of the most important foods. So let's get going. Tell us now. I'm sort of shouting here. I've got a very loud voice. I
love how you're shouting.
I encourage you to do the same.
Okay.
Alyssa.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your story.
My story is, I really was not a very healthy kid growing up. So I had a lot of health issues, and I think I was brought into this world with not a very strong immune system.
Right.
So I didn't really have a chance to fight off things, and I was always getting a lot of health things going on, and I never felt great, ever in my life. And then I worked myself to the bone, stress, everybody can relate to that.
Yes.
I was trying to climb the corporate ladder. I moved to New York, and it was very fast paced, and I was eating all kinds of crappy food, and because I didn't have any time, and the stress was enormous, and I wasn't sleeping. But at the age of 32, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And you had to confuse that. Hodgkin's lymphoma, because my husband had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So I had lymphoma, lymphatic cancer.
And you were how old?
I was 32.
And you had 2 children, didn't you?
I didn't yet.
Oh, you didn't?
I had some fertility issues, and I think I was lucky that I caught the cancer before I got pregnant, but I had 4 miscarriages before I was diagnosed with the lymphoma. So I think that it attributed to some of that.
Yes.
And I did go through some treatment, but I didn't go through the treatment they wanted. I did some radiation, and I was really worried about doing chemo, so I chose not to because I knew what chemo does to your body. And I know that my body wasn't that strong at the time. So I threw myself into the holistic way of, LA, live in LA, there's a lot offered here.
Yeah, there is.
The food, I went vegan, acupuncture, I did colonics, I did massage, I went into therapy, I did meditation and yoga and juicing and the whole gamut. And I healed.
You healed.
Yeah, and I went on to have 2 healthy girls who are 24 and 21 today. But my husband, 11 years later, was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he passed away a 1.5 years after treatment, and he was 45 years old. So that's when I decided, wow, I need to make a change here, a real change. I made the change for the short term while I was healing because I was, feeling like I was at death's door. But this was a long-term change that I needed to have happen for my girls and us.
Wow.
So
that is so far is such, well, because the story goes on, you've got to stick around. It kind of gets worse and then better. But,
yes.
You are so moving to me. You're so inspirational, Alyssa, because when we sat down and had lunch and Alyssa told me her story, I was just amazed because the truth is I had just seen her on social media looking so beautiful. You can't really see up close, but she has the most unbelievable eyes, these beautiful blue eyes. And I'd look at her in her white kitchen with her blue eyes and her juicing. And I was just like, oh my gosh, if we could all be like Alyssa. And then we sat down and had lunch and I heard her story. And not only, you are a powerhouse, you're a warrior, and you've been through so much suffering in your life. And I have so much respect for you. So
thank you.
You got through your cancer, you had your 2 beautiful girls. Then what happened?
Then, 11 years later, my husband was diagnosed with cancer, and he didn't make it. He went the whole traditional Western route, didn't do anything holistic. And I'm not saying, I agree with medicine. So I'm not saying medicine, you shouldn't do medicine when you have cancer or something very hardcore, because it needs to get you through the period of time that you're supposed to heal. So, but he ended up passing away of fungal pneumonia. His immune system was so compromised. But because they radiated my thyroid during my treatment, I got hypothyroidism. And it took me 4 years to get diagnosed with this hypothyroidism, because in those days, they didn't know a lot about it. I had anxiety, depression, constipation, sleep issues. I mean, hair thinning. I mean, all of you that have hypo, you can relate to it. But it took me 4 years to get diagnosed. And then I ended up finally pushing further, because when I went on medication, I didn't feel great. So then I ended up getting some antibodies from a really great doctor tested, and I had Hashimoto's, which is the autoimmune for hypothyroidism. So
wow.
Yes.
And now here comes the story of how Alyssa healed from Hashimoto's. And this is why I was so excited to share your story and your suggestions and advice with my community, because I know so many women out there have these conditions.
Yes.
Now, the first thing that's really interesting, let's do some myth busting. So what, as far as autoimmune is concerned, give me some myth busting here.
So most doctors say that when you walk into your doctor's office and you get diagnosed with these autoimmune, that your body is attacking itself. And I feel like that's such a negative, and it's sort of
frightening as well.
Yes. So we're already in a fight or flight mode, and it kind of puts us more into a fight of, oh my God, my body's failing me. So it really isn't about your body attacking yourself. It's about your body trying to heal the different organs, or the actual where the toxins have accumulated, and they're just, that organ or systems in the body are overloaded. So there are pathogens in your thyroid. It's a very big organ. It's like a sieve for toxins, heavy metals, pathogens, pesticides, all kinds of things. And it gets overloaded. And your body is, has to fight off those toxins. And that's really one of the first.
A couple of things here. I know, certainly on social media, I see so much about eating meat and bone broth and all of these things that you have to have. That's the only way that people, cure these sort of conditions.
Right.
What is that? Is there a myth there for you?
I mean, I'm pretty much 80% vegan. I'm highly vegan, because I think the plant-based life can heal, and that's what healed me. Mm-hmm. But I think the bone broth does have a lot of research behind it, that it can heal the gut.
Right.
And the gut is where your immune system is, and where your, serotonin is produced.
Right.
So the gut is super crucial for this part, for the autoimmune.
But you can heal your gut without bone broth.
True.
If you are vegan.
Absolutely.
And if you want to eliminate the contaminants that are so often in bone broth.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's tricky.
That is a very tricky situation, isn't it?
I think it's just hot right now.
It's like, exactly, it's another trend, the keto, the bone broth, whatever it is.
Exactly.
And one thing that I want to point out here is that Alyssa, part of her business is that she has these soup cleanses. And you run, how many times a year do you run them?
So we do twice a month, but there's 3 months in the year that are pretty popular. So we do 3 weeks out of those months. So we only cook and deliver in LA.
Right.
But, and we can do about 50 people in the week, because we cook and deliver all the food.
But I think the takeaway, if you don't live in LA, is, and certainly the takeaway for me, is that, if you want to cleanse, quote unquote, you might be better off doing soups rather than juices.
Especially in the winter months.
Yeah.
And especially, you're right, with autoimmune issues, because your body is in high alert and your immune system is trying to heal, whatever's going on. So you do need warming, nurturing, nourishing food.
Right.
You don't need cold.
Oh.
Yeah, it does. Cold can kind of set you off.
Oh, it can?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because it sort of hypes you up a little bit.
Right.
And it's great for summer and hot weather and, sunshine.
Yes.
But for winter, or if you're dealing with an autoimmune, it's warmer foods.
And then, of course, that speaks to seasonal eating, which again speaks to all the different traditions, such as Ayurveda, eating with, it just all makes sense. It's common sense, really, isn't it?
Right.
Okay, so now we are going to show you, or Alyssa is going to show you, the exact foods, or really the top foods that you need to try to eat as much as possible to heal your Hashimoto's, your autoimmune, your thyroid. So we're going to come in nice and close and go through those foods right now. All right, so Alyssa, take us through these foods that you brought along.
So first off, we have cauliflower and broccoli, which is part of the cruciferous family. And cruciferous vegetables have goitrogens, which a lot of people have said that they're not actually good for you because it inhibits the thyroid. So, but that is a myth. Absolutely. These foods are some of the most important detoxifying foods in the body, and they have all these phytochemicals. So the actual phytochemicals was what helps balance out the goitrogens and pushes these pathogens out of the body. So we're talking about really pushing viruses and pathogens out of the body.
Oh,
okay.
God, that's such a great myth buster. I love that.
Yes.
So we want to eat lots of broccoli and cauliflower and kale and bok choy and any cruciferous
cabbage,
veggies.
arugula.
Right, and we can make them in lovely healing soups, can't we?
Absolutely. They are so important. You can't get enough of these.
Beautiful. Now, what about bananas? That surprised me that you bought
I know.
bananas.
It surprises everyone, but bananas really they're full of calcium. So, which is interesting. And calcium is really important for nodules in the thyroid. So when you have nodules and you have stuff going on in the thyroid, calcium is depleted.
Wow.
So bananas are really crucial. And they're also, as we know, they're really crucial for prebiotics in the gut. So
yes.
as we talked about, in the video before, is gut health is really important.
That's right.
So,
now, also, what surprises me that you told me about bananas is neurotransmitters.
Yes.
So talk to me about that.
It calms down the central nervous system.
Right.
So when we talked about fight or flight mode is what, the body is in fight or flight mode when it has an autoimmune issue. So we want to get foods in that calm down the central nervous system.
Okay. And now cucumbers.
Yes. Cucumbers are absolutely alkalining. They're full of alkaloids. I mean, they are really crucial for helping support the adrenals and the kidneys. They also can be very detoxifying also for the kidneys.
And the lymphatic system, right?
Yes, very important for the lymphatic system. And that's another thing about these autoimmune, most of us don't concentrate on the lymphatic system and how much we need. All the toxins go to the lymphatic system.
That's right.
And then we need to flush it, but we don't flush it.
No. God, that's so interesting. Now, celery. Obviously, there's a huge, great, big, trend of celery juice, and you and I have chatted about this before, and I actually prefer the whole plant, if possible, because it's got the fiber in it. But talk to us about celery and why, autoimmune needs celery.
So celery actually can help repair the hydrochloric acid in your gut.
Oh.
It also helps increase bile in your liver for digestion. It can calm down also the central nervous system.
And you were telling me also about the mineral salts, right?
Right.
So
it's the mineral salts that do help build the hydrochloric acid in our gut. And that gets depleted. So these mineral salts are really crucial, and it has all kinds of other minerals and vitamins in the celery, and most people do think of celery as a throwaway.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
But it is really important.
Not a throwaway.
Right. I mean, there's a reason why we've been having celery with peanut butter for all these years.
Oh my God, it's so delicious.
And we give it to our kids.
Exactly.
Intuition.
It's a great snack, celery with almond butter. Don't throw that away.
Right. Absolutely.
Now, radishes. I don't eat enough radishes, but tell everybody who's got Hashimoto's and whatnot, why radishes are a good idea.
Radishes are great because they're full of sulfur.
Oh.
And sulfur is what really helps detoxify the body as well. So we gotta forget about the sulfur foods. And I love radishes, and I love the taste of them. They're just very cleansing.
Oh, and they're so crunchy. And did you mention to me, I know that you said that, is it garlic and radishes that are antiviral?
Yes.
Oh, so talk to us a little bit about
so
that.
Garlic.
And how do we need to eat our garlic raw?
We can. Some people, though, don't digest it very well and they don't do well with it. So we can either eat it raw or cooked. But I prefer cooked, personally, just for my digestive system.
Yes.
But it is a huge antiviral and has been an antiviral for centuries.
Well, yes, of course.
So we really need to have that in our diet daily.
Yes. Now, okay, I was surprised that you were going to bring a potato along. And I'm thrilled, by the way, because I love potatoes. I eat them every day. And people are so carb phobic, and I think a complex carb is so important.
And they think they're a white food, and white foods don't have any nutrients.
That's right, but it's not true. Not a myth bust. No,
right.
Go with
right,
that.
because we were just talking about radishes, and inside the radish is white.
Yes.
You know, jicama, inside jicama is white. So, and these foods are so important, all of them in our diet. And so they're the skin of these potatoes. If it's new potatoes, red potatoes,
Keep
right?
the skin on.
Yes, keep the skin on. It's really important. And potatoes are full of minerals, and they help also calm down the central nervous system.
And just another thing that I learned from you is L-lysine. Because L-lysine is something that we hear about, you know, if people have viral infections. So there's L-lysine in potatoes, right?
There is. And a lot of L-lysine. And L-lysine is a major antiviral.
Oh.
So when I was healing, I was taking lysine.
Right, well, I'm going to eat tons and tons and tons of potatoes. All right, so let's get on to the surprise food right now. And the surprise food is seaweed. Yes, so why seaweed?
Seaweed because it is full of iodine. And iodine is an antiseptic. So it's fabulous at like killing pathogens in the thyroid.
Wow.
Specifically, because that's where like iodine also is stored in the thyroid.
Yeah.
T3, T4 means like that's how much iodine molecules are attached to these things. So iodine has been a little bit of a myth because people are saying we get too much iodine.
But we don't. We need more of it.
We need the natural kind, the one natural in foods, which is seaweed. One thing I just want to preface is that I would buy Atlantic because the Pacific is a little toxic.
Okay, that's a great point.
Atlantic.
Right. And let me explain. You can get your seaweed dried from a lot of health food stores, and you can find it online. As Alyssa said, make sure that it's sourced from the Atlantic so it doesn't have those contaminants in it. It comes dry. You soak it. You can make soups with it. Just throw a bunch of it in your soup. And of course, if you go to a sushi restaurant, whatever, there's seaweed salads and there's seaweed this and seaweed that. But probably the healthiest and best way to do it is to get it at home and make your own seaweed salad. Or as I said, you can just throw it in soups and whatnot.
Or salads, sprinkle like dulse flakes.
Yes, dulse flakes, exactly.
Yeah.
And you can get dulse flakes easily. We'll put a link for some dulse flakes underneath this. Now, finally, Alyssa, what are the tests that somebody needs to have to test whether they have thyroid issues or Hashimoto's? Could you just very quickly run through those?
Because most doctors just test for TSH, but they're getting better. So you really need to test for your T3 and T4. And there's a free T3, free T4, total T3, total T4. There's a lot of, those are what are so much more crucial than the TSH, because that is what runs the thyroid. And the T3 is really what actually activates the thyroid. Most drugs these days, like Thyroid, are just T4. So then you have to convert T4 to T3. And a lot of people with Hashimoto's cannot do that.
Right.
But there are more natural thyroid supplement or drugs out there that have T3 and T4 as well. But you need to sort of really get a whole array. You want antibodies tested. So 2 types of antibodies, TPO and TG. And then there is also, you want to test for vitamin D levels. You need to really have your vitamin D levels at 75. Most doctors are okay at 50. So you also need to test for your ferritin, which is your iron storage. That's huge because that is what drives the T3 into the cells. So that needs to be at 90, which is rather high for a lot of people. So that you can talk to your doctor. I always recommend that. But
right.
And then as well as you need your melatonin to be good, you need your testosterone to be healthy, and your insulin levels to be balanced.
And that's where holistic nutrition and functional medicine comes in. You know what I'm going to do, because I'm realizing as Alyssa is going through this, it's a lot of very important and quite complicated information. So there is a link to the blog underneath this video, in the description to the video, where you'll see all the foods that we've talked about. We'll put in links to the seaweed, so you can buy your healthy seaweed. We'll put in links to, you know, Alyssa's work, and also in that blog, we'll outline those tests to make it really, really simple and easy for you. And the thing before we go, because I know there's going to be a question about this that I wanted to point out, is people get really freaked out about soy and thyroid. But from my point of view, or certainly really more than my point of view, what the evidence-based science shows us is that you're all right with a little bit of organic soy as long as your iodine levels are right up there. So that's the sort of caveat. Yes, you can have a little bit, but you need to make sure that you're getting enough iodine.
And it's a clean soy, non-GMO, as everybody probably already knows.
Yes, exactly.
And organic soy.
All of that. All of that good stuff. Okay, so also look out for some of the other videos that we've done together, because we've done a few in our series, one about detox, one about gut health. So you want to make sure that you don't miss any of those videos. And I'm sure that we'll be doing a lot more. And right now, we're going to take this big platter of veggies, and why not should we make some soup?
Oh, I love it.
Right.
Yes.
We're going to make some soup. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Hi, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, there are hundreds more. And please also visit my blog at sophieuliano.com for detailed reviews, recipes, DIYs, and more.